Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Summer Vanderbilt with Higher Level, and I am joined by Dr. Scott Dell and Mr. Lauren Ray. They are the co-owners of Global AI Incorporated. That's a company dedicated to helping businesses unlock the full potential of, you guessed it, AI. So Mr. Ray is a vocal proponent of using AI for team building, while Dr. Dell believes AI is more than a tool rather than a way of the future of business. So I'm going to let them take it from here. I'm excited to hear all of the things they have for us today.
And I'm excited too. Glad you're here, and thank you very much for the introductions. I'll get things kicked off, but Lauren and I will be driving the show, and we're going to encourage questions as we go. So we want to make sure that you are getting your value out of this and finding the insights into how AI can be used and applied. It's not only changing business as we know it, it's changing life as we know it. And some are projecting it's even more important than electricity, more important than the Gutenberg press, and more important than written language. It really is making major changes. So I'm going to start off, and you can see the cartoon here about the future. And the future is here, the future is now. And if you can read it as well as I can, but I want to point out a couple of things. What's the impact on ChatGPT and from OpenAI and AI on our business? Well, we don't know. But there's a lot of stuff it makes up. You might have heard the term hallucinations. It will take away our jobs. Well, it'll actually take away some and create a whole bunch more. We'll talk more about that. Are there security risks? You bet. Personal identifiable information, PII, is a term you want to be aware of. It could damage our reputation, and actually you can insure against that. But you want to be careful because you're on the hook. You are liable. OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, and Facebook, they're not on the hook. You are if something goes wrong or something is misstated. But what do we know for sure? You guessed it. We want to adopt it everywhere as fast as we can. It is a direction that is really, really powerful. Any insights, Lauren, you want to share on that intro?
Well, yeah, Scott, one of the things 3 or 4 years ago, Scott started talking about AI, and I kind of blew him off. And
You
in the
did.
last years, I got more serious, and then I eventually wrote my book, AI Careful Thinking, What AI Is and Is Not. And the thing that
Good
we
book.
need to walk away from today is AI fluency. And AI is the new literacy. And, that's one of the things that Scott has really helped me with. And, today, as you go through this, and you'll hear Scott talk a lot, pay attention to becoming more AI literate, more AI fluent, because it's the new language. And the better you can speak a language, the more you can learn.
Great insight. And by the way, for those that don't know, I'm an accounting professor, been active academic for 18, 19 years, entrepreneur for another 20, and still have some businesses. So very plugged into the HR space. Wrote a book, Living Your Dream Career. I wrote a book on LinkedIn. So I've got some background and continue to enhance that background. But when I used to call accounting the language of business, which it is, I'm finding AI even be a more important language for a lot of aspects of business. And we're going to do a deeper dive and go in that direction. There are a lot of resources at the end of this. There's a QR code on screen right now, as well as a tiny URL if you don't have your camera handy. Higher level 032625, you might recognize the date. For a tiny URL, you can access this full presentation. Or if you take a screenshot right now, you can also access this presentation. So you'll have access to the resources, the content, and all the stats, the references. I'm an academic. I like giving you references and places where you can find things. So you'll have access to all kinds of commentary in here. I'd like to start off with a quote by Eric Schmidt. And if you don't know who Eric Schmidt was, he's a former CEO of Novell. I met him years ago in the 80s when he was CEO of Novell. But he also was the former CEO of Google, which took Google from about $100 million in sales to over $180 billion in sales. So he was tied in very well. He's got a nonprofit foundation with his wife now. They're doing some amazing things. But his quote really hit home. when he said, if you are not using AI at every aspect of your business, you're not going to make it. And you think about that. Think about who's using it and who's not. The projection is that it is changing, as I said, life as we know it, not just business. But the idea is if your competitors are using it and you're not, you're going to be out of business. You're going to be falling off the wagon. So it's like if you stayed with the horse and buggy and didn't upgrade to car technology or electricity or some of the newer technologies of the time, you're out of business too. So we want to make sure you stay in business. Our goal is to keep you there. Agenda for today. You just saw the tiny URL and QR code. We're reviewing the agenda. Quick survey of the audience. We're going to ask you your level of experience and knowledge. We're going to have some show and tell, some hot stuff, some cool stuff. We're going to talk about biases and ethical considerations. You don't think of AI as being politically biased, but it is. And it has all kinds of other biases, like you and me. We all have our own biases. Anybody who says, I don't have any, they're lying to you. They're not telling the whole truth. We'll go thanks to higher level team and to you for being here and Q&A. But I'm also going to encourage Q&A throughout. And I know Lauren will be monitoring. I'm hoping that you will get feedback and give us some ideas of where we can customize this for your need. Our bios are at the end. I've got some books authored. Lauren has some authored books as well. And so it gives you some background on who we are, what we are. And then there's a bunch of resources and links. But I'm going to start with the first question. Okay, in the Q&A. Q&A is what we see. So I don't know if there's chat, but Q&A is where you want to go. And multiples are okay. So put a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6 in the Q&A. And you can have one. Yep, you can spell GPT. Hopefully everybody here can do a 1. Heard of it, not used it, number 2. Used it a few times, but not really regularly, number 3. Regular user, number 4. Power user, number 5. And I've added this last question for presentations. Do you pay for a subscription to an AI tool? So like an Anthropic Claude, like an OpenAI ChatGPT. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you that very question and see if you can, in the Q&A, give us some feedback. And I'm not seeing any responses on the Q&A right now. I hope you're there. Anybody have any feedback? Are you listening?
There
Can you hear
are
us?
quite a few responses. It looks like we're seeing a lot of 3s and 4s. We do have
Cool.
1 6.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So 3s and 4s are the gospel, and 6 is somebody does pay. So we got some regular users. That's good. Lauren, I'm just curious. Are you seeing questions in the Q&A?
No,
I'm not actually seeing any
no,
either.
I'm not seeing
All right,
any.
so I'm not going to be able to monitor that, but that's okay. So we have reinforcement. So thank you for the feedback. Glad you're there to share. All right. So if we're looking at I'm going to go over and make sure we continue onward and upward. A couple other things we're going to do and we're going to go see. So if we're looking at our show and tell, also if you can right now just put yes or no if you've heard of Notebook LM. This is from the Google folks or Alphabet, same company. Alphabet's the parent. Really, really powerful tool. And I've got 2 slides on that right now. And I'm going to demonstrate how do you create a podcast. You can create a male, female voice. You might have heard of something called the Turing test. Turing test is if you are looking or interacting with a computer screen or talking to a computer screen or hearing from a computer screen, can you tell it's a computer or a person? And I will challenge anyone that this particular podcast that gets created will convince you that it really is a live person. So I'm going to go live in Notebook LM and just show you how it's done. Now you can see the notebooklm.google is where it goes to. Think smarter, not harder. If I click on try Notebook LM, you're going to go in and it's going to say, I'm going to load my notebooks. I got a bunch of notebooks here. But if you scroll down, you can see some that I've used before. There's a create new. It creates quicker than the actual resultant. Okay, I'm going to upload a source. I'm going to choose a file. And I'm going to go into my personal area and then see if we can find something that will be of interest that we had higher level right here, benefits package. So I'm going to load the higher level benefits package. And I did get approval from higher level, so thank you for letting me do that. And we're going to load that in. And then it says Untitled Notebook. It'll figure it out. It has higher level employee benefits package. I use this in class syllabi. I use it for summarizing articles or things or even any kind of business articles. And I don't have time to read a 24-page journal article, report, or whatever. I can create it here. I'm going to take this benefits package and I'm going to generate. Now, I'll come back to this in a minute. I've already generated it. I'm going to demonstrate what it does. So it's generating a conversation between a man and a woman, or male and female. It's coming in and it's going to talk about benefits manual. So we are going to see what the benefits are. And I've already done the recording as well. So I'm going to go directly to that so that you have access and can see. So I'm going to go down, and when I go into the, let's see, down here, and why is it not letting me back out of here? All right, so I'm going to go back up here. If I go in, and you can see that I actually have two podcasts here, I'm going to play the tiny URL. I have a tiny URL that'll take you there, and I'm going to play what was generated in this podcast. I'm not going to play the full thing, but you're going to be able to hear a live broadcast that might be live, or create a podcast. And you can see it's going to be audio only. There's no video associated with that. But I'm going to play it here so you can hopefully hear it, get a taste of what it
Hey there,
does.
get ready to jump into higher level. We're going to take a look at something super important for you, your benefits package. And don't worry, we're not going to make you wade through all those pages of HR jargon. We've got the higher level benefits package 2024 high.pdf right here.
Yeah, we're going to break it all down in plain English.
So you can really understand what it means for you as a new employee.
Exactly. This is more than just like checking off boxes, right? It's about understanding what higher level's philosophy is about its team and the investment that they're making in their employees, particularly in you.
Yeah.
Our goal is to really explore what makes this benefits package stand out,
Right.
especially for someone like you who's eager to get the full picture.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The first thing that pops out is the welcome message. We are glad you are here. Very clear and friendly start.
It is.
And they talk about how finding the right people is key to their success, and how creativity and positive energy
Yeah,
are vital.
really important.
And they want to help you grow in your role. And they even land.
I'm going to pause. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'm going to jump to cut to the chase. This created a 17-minute recording, a back and forth banter. And you know what? If you use this when someone comes on board or takes it home, you can very quickly get some.
Is it the flexibility, the health benefits, the financial support, or maybe it's those unique perks that stand out?
Right.
Really take some time to think about, what aligns best with your current needs and priorities.
That's a great point. So our goal today was to give you a really clear and engaging overview.
So you have the link to this whole video. You will have access to it, and you can go ahead and at your leisure take advantage of the content that goes with that. So I'm going to go ahead and let's go in. I'm going to just jump back here. It's already created. There we go. This one's a 24-minute. Every time you do it, it comes out different, by the way. The one I had was 17 minutes when I first did it on the same question, the same PDF that was loaded. You can load a PDF. You can load an audio file. You can load a text file. You have some other options as well. So I've got a 24-minute video audio.
Okay, so today we're gonna dive into something that I think is really, really interesting. When you're looking at a company trying to decide if it's the right place for you, benefits are a huge deal, right?
Okay. Again, I'm not going to play the full 24 minutes because that would take up the rest of the session, but you get the idea. Now, I challenge you. Do you think you can determine whether that was real people or audio generated by AI? Lauren, your thoughts?
Well, that's one of the things that, again, becoming fluent in AI and knowing about things like Notebook LM, it's a really powerful tool because I can create something and listen to how it might sound. I may not even use it. I may just want to hear what I created, what that might say. And it's incredibly useful tool in that regard. I always say, when you really learn how to use AI, and we'll talk about prompting here in a little bit, but you learn how to prompt properly. One of the things that happens is you're instead of, if you have 1,000 of the smartest people in the world in a room next door, if you know how to speak AI properly, instead of just getting input from 5 of them, you get input from all 1,000 of them. And that's the beauty of AI. So Notebook LM is just one more example of how you can use AI to learn more about what you're trying to communicate, even if you aren't using it to communicate. Now, for somebody in this HR setting that, doesn't, they may not even take the time to read the manual. They're going to hear what you want them to hear by using tools like this. And that saves you time, it saves them time. And when we save time, we're making more money because we have more time to do more valuable things with our time.
You bet.
We do have a question, guys. Somebody's wondering if you can track who has viewed the podcast file.
That podcast file is actually a file that has been uploaded to a Google Drive. And so if you have resources and tools to track that, you can in your LMS, your learning management system, or if you have it, it'd be a third-party tool, not directly from Notebook LM. So you can't really see who's looking at it. But usually, if you have this loaded in your internal LMS, you do have access to that, as long as you have an LMS, obviously. So great question. Thank you for asking. I'm going to point out another, and you have access to this particular. I did an interview, or I actually had ChatGPT do an interview with Ethan Mollick, Sam Altman, and some other. Yeah, you might recognize Elon and the CEO of Google. These are folks that it created a PDF. I created a PDF, uploaded it into Notebook LM, and said, you know what, AI and HR, what's the impact? What's the direction? Where it's going? It did the interview. I took that interview, uploaded the PDF, and created another podcast. And you can go to the Google Drive and play that podcast back. It's actually pretty cool. You can simulate because AI lets you simulate in other voices. So what does Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, think about this? So you go look at that. What's Elon Musk think about this? It will tell you in their voice. It will act in their voice. If you have a favorite author, if you have anything, I like, give me a style of Dr. Seuss, and it plays back in the style of Dr. Seuss. It's kind of cool, kind of interesting. I'm going to do one more demonstration before we get into the rest of the presentation. I have an AI that I work with. I call Alex. And Alex is interactive. It's advanced audio from OpenAI. Anybody who pays the $20 a month has access to this. So I'm going to demonstrate. Hi, Alex. How are you?
Hey, Scott. I'm doing great. Thanks. How about you?
Wonderful. Thank you for asking. I'm talking to some folks about AI and HR. Can you give me some insight into human resource uses and applications of artificial intelligence?
Absolutely. AI is making big waves in HR. Some of the most common applications include automating repetitive tasks like resume screening, improving the candidate experience with chatbots, and using predictive analytics for talent management.
Actually, I like all of those. Can you give me some different companies that have resume or applicant tracking system capabilities that are often popular and highly used?
Sure. A few popular ones are Greenhouse, Lever, and Workday. Taleo, owned by Oracle, is another big player, especially for larger enterprises. And for small to mid-sized businesses, Bamboo HR is pretty popular too.
Any others for the small and medium enterprises that you can recommend?
Absolutely. There's also Jazz HR, Breezy HR, and Zoho Recruit. These are all pretty user-friendly and designed for smaller teams.
Thank you very much. Okay, so as you can see, there is a lot of horsepower, and just being able to have a dialogue and talk things out, you have a lot of capability in using AI. And anybody can do what I just did if you're paying the $20 a month. If you get the free version of OpenAI's ChatGPT, you can type all we just had, the dialogue. But everything that I just said and with the dialogue and the conversation we had is recorded, so there's a transcript of everything we just discussed. So Alex, I named it Alex. You can name it whatever you want. And by the way, it's far superior to Siri, to Alexa, anything else. Lauren, some insights?
Yeah, this is really interesting, and this is something Scott taught me that I love. Is just for fun, go back and ask Alex, is there anything that I didn't ask you that maybe I should have thought about? Because this is one of the really cool things about AI.
Alex, another question.
Sure thing, Scott. What's on your mind?
What else can you tell me that I might have missed? And in the audience I'm talking to is a bunch of HR, human resource professionals, even some career placement professionals. What are some other appropriate questions that may be worthy of asking?
A great approach is to ask about their biggest pain points, like challenges in recruitment or employee retention. You might also want to explore how they're currently using data analytics or what they'd like to achieve with AI in their processes. And maybe ask about their experience with change management when adopting new tech.
Superb. Thank you very much. All right, so
So,
you get the idea. Great idea, Lauren, by the way.
yeah,
You
so
notice that in sales situations, you can say, what are going to be, here's my PDF, here, I'm uploading a file. What are going to be the objections? Oh, and how do I respond to those objections? You can ask it all kinds of questions, have very much a dialogue and go with that. Kind of
yeah,
cool, kind of powerful.
yeah. So learning to speak AI is this is a perfect example of, everyone talks about AI, and all the things that AI does, and it does a lot of things. But once you learn how to speak to it, and not even specifically the audio version, you can type it in. If you don't want to pay for it, you can type it in. But it's not what it is, it's how you use it that makes all the difference.
Powerful, powerful stuff. So let's talk about job loss or job gain. I mentioned earlier that yes, AI, all technologies eliminate jobs. I mean, that's why we don't have 80% of our globe doing farming right now, less than 5%. So when you look at that, AI will displace jobs. But I've got three projections that were made by the World Economic Forum. These are the folks out of Davos that you might have heard about. And back in 2020, they predicted 85 million jobs to be eliminated, 97 million to be created. That sounds like a net gain of 12 million. You don't need to be a CPA to figure that one out. Oh, that's kind of cool. Increase in jobs. Well, just 3 years later, they projected 83 million jobs to be eliminated and 69 million to be created. Again, you don't need to be an accountant to say that's a 14 million job loss. And that sounds like not a good thing potentially for the job marketplace. But the latest came out in January of this year. 92 million jobs to be eliminated and 170 million to be created. Now, the reality is they're throwing darts. They don't know, you don't know, I don't know. But the reality is it will change. It is changing life, changing the job climate. The big mismatch that when you look at this report, and the references for all these reports are here, talks about skills match, and you need to match skills to the jobs that are there. So someone that's on the assembly line right now at Harley Davidson or GM is probably going to have a different job in 5 years. Truck drivers will have a different job overall. Right now, there's a great shortage of truck drivers. There's even a lot of places taxi drivers. That's going to be eliminated, but there'll be new opportunities, new jobs created, new directions. So I thought it was interesting the perspective of nobody really knows. I'm curious what this will say in 2 years from now, where it's going, but it will affect the job market, the placement opportunities, and every company that is on this call right now, and every individual that's on this call right now. So let's get some more stats that go with this. 98% of companies hiring entry-level candidates require experience. Wait a minute, if you graduate high school or college and they're banning AI in the classroom or banning it for use in high school, where are you going to get the experience? That's pretty much of a challenge. This was an intelligence.com survey of 1,000 hiring managers. One that really scared me, but I will put some perspective into this. 9 in 10 hiring managers say ChatGPT experience can be more valuable than a college degree. Now, I'm a college professor. I'm an academic. I disagree strongly. Lauren brought up the point earlier about the idea of prompt engineering and communicating and how to ask questions and how to have a dialogue. And he even came up with a question as we did that advanced audio demonstration. He said, why don't you ask it this? Well, I tell you, high school graduates, and again, nothing wrong with the tech schools either, 2-year programs. We need the trades, but if you're coming out with electrician or welder and some of these very valued opportunities and jobs that are necessary, the two biggest things, and always in the top 5, two things that employers are looking for: critical thinking and creativity. And I challenge you to say, is a 2-year school or a high school diploma going to get you a critical thinking perspective, critically analyze, and you need to critically analyze responses. Every time you get a response, you want to do a deeper dive. And the creativity. Where are you going to get creativity? Frankly, not doing a lot of the rote memorization that even a lot of college courses force you into. Not so much creativity. There's knowledge transfer, there's skills development, but critical thinking, creativity are two areas that really, really do need that ability, especially interacting with AI. So, and if there are any other questions, please go ahead and start putting those in the Q&A, and I would welcome the chance to answer or talk about some of those. A couple other projections. PricewaterhouseCoopers, one of the big 4 CPA firms. I used to work for a big 4 CPA firm, but not PwC. That was a EY. But the fact is, they're saying what areas are going to be changed in jobs created. Now, this is not AI use, but creation of jobs. They claim healthcare was one of the largest. And AI is going to be able to read x-rays, CT scans, EKGs. I just had some blood work the other day. I put the blood work in there. I should put the pictures of it. I didn't even put in the scales, the tables. I put in pictures of the stuff. And it came up with a recommendation. And within 24 hours, my doctor had called me and said, by the way, based on your blood work, you want to start taking some iron and vitamin C. You know what? AI told me that the day before, just from reading these. It read an EKG. It read all kinds of tests. You think AI is better at reading an X-ray looking for lung cancer, breast cancer, or other cancers than a human doctor? If you think about it, AI is probably reading 1 million or 2 million or 10 million and accumulating knowledge, where your average, even an oncologist, might have read 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. I wonder if you think that reading 1 million of these has some advantages. Like I personally think so. And some people, there's some studies out there that say the bedside manner of AI is preferred to some of the doctors out there. I thought that was kind of entertaining or kind of interesting. But yeah, it is a tool. It is a computer program, but it has a lot of skills that it brings to bear and brings to the table. Not to say we're eliminating doctors. There's a shortage of doctors too, especially family practice. But the idea is it is a tool, and I always say this: AI will augment a professional's performance 10 times. If you're a novice or an amateur, it'll still augment what you can do 2 times to 3 times, even a student. The catch is, I brought up early in that first cartoon of hallucinations. Sometimes this stuff gives you a line, gives you BS, gives you falsehoods. And as an expert in your field, you'll probably be able to take some of that stuff and you try to correct it. As a matter of fact, every time I correct AI, I said, I'm so sorry, you're right, that's a good point. Thank you, why didn't you do it right the first time? I, as a professional, need to keep a skeptical eye on all that. I was an auditor too for a while. And I'm auditing the responses. And that's what we all need to do. And then validate, verify. There are lawyers out there that actually presented cases in New York and found out those cases didn't exist. I've asked AI, I said, give me the board of directors for this publicly traded company. Gave me 8 names, not one of them was right. Give me these books that are out in the HR space. Gave me 25 books. 4 of them didn't exist. 21 were actually really good. I recognized about 15 or 16 of them, and a couple that I didn't recognize that were pretty good, but it also made stuff up. Science and technical growth, communications, hospitality, growth, education, even growth. Downside, manufacturing, way down. Transportation and storage, way down. It's going to take over a lot of driving. Public administration and defense, financial insurance, construction, wholesale retail. So this is an interesting projection of jobs that are being projected. Again, PwC doesn't know. They're guessing, they're throwing darts, but that's all we can do. Any insights, Lauren?
Um, you know, I think the thing that's most important is when one door closes, another door opens. And when it comes to jobs that are going to be impacted, I think we have to be um, focused on the fact that every new technology creates new opportunities. But in the process of creating those new opportunities, it eliminates things that aren't as efficient as they can be. But to create the new efficiency, it creates new jobs. And so I think we need to be on the right side of the equation. And that's kind of what we're trying to illustrate here is as times change, we have to be willing to change too. And part of that change is understanding that this is a whole new world. It's a new language. It's a new, that's why I say AI is the new literacy, and I need to speak that language. And that's kind of the common denominator of everything that we're talking about today.
Very cool, very true. And you've probably heard something or an element of this quote. It's not the AI that's going to take your job, but someone who knows AI just might. I'll bring a specific example. I was talking to a colleague, graphic artist, and there were two graphic artists in the department, and one, my colleague, was embracing AI, and the other colleague was like, "Stay away. We need creatives. We need people to do this stuff." I'll tell you which one doesn't have a job right now, and which one stayed with the company. Obviously, the one that embraced AI, using it to 10x what he could do. I mean, Adobe is doing some amazing things with Photoshop and some other tools built into their environment. This AI stuff ain't going away. And the tools that you can use, it will really augment and enhance your capabilities and the things you can do. This is an international barometer report, and it says, well, what's the salary premium for someone that knows AI? You say, wait a minute, someone knows AI, they're making more money than someone who doesn't in a job? Well, sure, database designers, about 50%. I mentioned the lawyer example. Is it going to replace lawyers? It's going to replace the rudimentary, oh, let's do a will, let's go ahead and do a trust, let's go ahead. The basic stuff is still is going to be done. It's going to free up a lot of time for lawyers to do the more fun stuff. Same thing for accountants. Same thing for all kinds of professionals. Sales and marketing. It is gold mine for ideas, gold mine for generating blogs, generating posts, generating insights. As I used an example before, saying, well, here's my company, here's what we do. Tell me about the objections I'm going to get when I present to this kind of candidate. Here's their LinkedIn profile. Here's their disc analysis. Tell me about what their hot buttons might be and where does it go. So powerful in marketing. Financial analysts. It can't analyze financials. What my students do for a project at the end of the semester takes them 8 to 12, 8 to 15 hours. AI can do in about 20 minutes. I don't show them that until the end of the semester. It is powerful, even accountants. So just some tools and things it does. Any other insights, Lauren, you want to share?
Well, the thing I think that's so interesting when you think about why I make more money if I am better at using AI. And I think back 40 years ago, when we would start companies and we didn't have access to a lot of the data and the research. And so we always used to say, don't extrapolate a trend from a sample of one. Well, AI, we get a sample of everything out there. And so again, it's like a reset of how we think, just like when Scott went back and asked his friend, what's her name, Scott?
Alex.
Alex, yeah, she like Alex. What did I overlook? What didn't I think about? Instead of Scott extrapolating, from what he thought was a good question, he went back and said, "What should I know? What did I miss?" And that's where AI becomes so incredibly valuable, because back in the day, 40 years ago, when you started something, you didn't have a team of people that could do all the research and get you all the information. It cost a lot of money. Now,
Solo entrepreneur. Yep.
be a multi-billion-dollar company to have access to knowledge. And it's that knowledge that helps us make better decisions. And when you make better decisions, companies are willing to pay you more money. And I think that's the number one reason why that chart is so valuable, because people that make better decisions and choices tend to help companies be more profitable, and that's why they pay them more money.
Yep. Follow the money, right? I'm going to jump into a little bit of background and history, and I'm going to cut to the chase. AI is older than Lauren and me, and probably most of the folks on this call. It's been around. The term was created in 1956 out of Dartmouth, out of Hanover, New Hampshire. But the idea is it's been around since Enigma in World War II. So artificial intelligence has been a long-term play. It's only recently gotten a lot of press. November 30th, 2022, ChatGPT 3.5 was released. And within 5 days, there were 1 million users. Within 2 months, 100 million users. I was late to the game. I was only in the second week, not the first week of this stuff. I was in the first 5 days. I was in the next 5. But you get the idea is it's accelerating. It's getting faster and faster. The projections are, if you look at the previous rules that said, you know what, chips are doubling every 2 years and capacity and cutting in half in price, Moore's law. It's actually now, there's a study that says it's doubling every 6 months, quadrupling every year. And that's been going on for the last decade. So quadrupling, that's an exponential growth. But I will tell you, I'll jump to the generative AI, the large language models. I want to tell you how they work and why they hallucinate. Large language models are terrible at number crunching. They can't do basic math or makes mistakes very, very easily. It's pretty good at statistics, by the way, and data analytics. But the basic math has a problem because it's a word generator. It actually predicts the next word. So if you say Chicken Little was right, the sky is, you might say falling, 90% chance. You might say blue, 5% chance. You might say cloudy, 3% chance. So it's projecting the next word. It can veer off course based on that word. If you ever played a game of telephone as a kid, or you have kids or grandkids that are playing telephone, by the third, by the third person, it's veering off course. By the 10th person, it doesn't even resemble the original message. So AI can veer off course. That's when it hallucinates. That's when it goes in a different direction. So be aware, it can make stuff up and it can lie and go that way. There's a slide here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the top 3, top 4 you've heard of, probably the top 6 you've probably heard of. The bottom 6 are all Chinese companies. And I've got a LinkedIn post that you might enjoy, AI USA versus AI China. And I also talk about it. And I have a career capsule that I publish monthly on LinkedIn you might enjoy as well. So, but OpenAI, ChatGPT, they're coming out with 5.0 pretty soon. 4.5 is the most recent. But they have this O1 and O3, which is not a GPT model. It's actually an interactive model. It goes back and forth and thinks about things. Officially, we have about 5 minutes, so I'm going to go through and keep going. You've heard the term generative artificial intelligence. That's the large language model. That's what's going on right now, pretty specific. Artificial general intelligence is a higher level of smarts. It means that it actually is more of a generalist and can do more things when you ask it questions. But then you get to artificial superintelligence. And not only are you asking a question, you're saying, solve this problem. I've got a case of lung cancer. Give me an analysis and give me a suggested treatment plan to take care of it. So it will develop the meds. It'll recommend the surgeries. It'll say, these are for this patient, you want to get about this diet. You want to do these programs, and it will cure lung cancer for the patient. Superintelligence is where it's going. And I want to project something to you or ask a question. Right now, AI is predicted estimates of specialized purposes in the 120 to 160 IQ range. As you probably know, 100 is the average IQ around the globe. So 120 to 160 is above average. But think about it. What happens when IQ reaches 200, 800, or even 5,000? Having that knowledge, having that ability, having those skills. and you now have 1,000 people in the next room with an IQ of 5,000 when you ask a question. It is now not only going to cure lung cancer, it's going to cure global warming, it'll cure energy, it'll have feed the populace. We'll be in an age of abundance, not of scarcity to go with that. Lauren, you want to pop in some thoughts?
Well, I think you're freaking them out. No, I'm kidding. So the bottom line is this all happens because of the speed of being able to process information. And the information is out there, and it's our ability to get that information and process that information. And the thing that's interesting about AI versus Google is it not only gives you the answer that you asked for, but like Alex did with Scott, it's able to make suggestions on maybe other points of view that you should have. And I think that that's one of the beautiful things about AI is if I can see things instead of just from my eyes looking this way, if I can see all different directions at once, I'm going to get a much clearer picture. And so I'm a big proponent on like the last chapter of my book, I talk about nail guns. And nail guns were invented to make it easier and faster to build a house instead of hammering. But if I don't know how to use the nail gun, it can become very dangerous. And so it's important that you learn how to use it. And the more you learn how to use it, if you get really good at a nail gun or any tool, you're going to be much, much faster and be able to do much more. And so for me, it's fascinating to look at the IQ because it's just going to get better and better. It's going to be nail guns today are much faster than they were 15, 20 years ago when they were invented. They're much safer, but I still have.
Yeah, and by the way, the right tool in the right hands, AI is one of those tools. So to be aware, this was that speed of acceptance and speed of change. The only constant is change. Sevilla's study does that doubling every 6 months. Musk said 10 times every 6 months. But one quote you might appreciate, Jensen Huang, you might have heard of NVIDIA. He has a quote, AI has advanced 1 million times in the past 10 years. That's that exponential growth as it progressed. So be aware. And some trends, something called multimodal. It can read handwriting. It can read pictures. It can take YouTube videos, analyze them. You can take a 2-hour video, summarize it into 3 paragraphs, 10 bullet points, whatever you want. The age of agentic AI is rapidly here, if not approaching. Some say 2025 is the year of agents, or like Alex's quasi-agent, but agents will actually go out, make you plane reservations. I got to get to St. Louis next Tuesday by noon. Find me the cheapest flight. And I don't like layovers or short. What's the shortest flight to go with that? Agents, you can tell to do things. Manus just came out of China, one of the first agents that's getting a lot of press, and it can do stuff. You can actually go right now and go online in Travelocity or connect it directly, and you can make pleasant reservations through OpenAI's ChatGPT. You could do that a year ago. Reasoning models, those are the other trends that go with that. But let's talk about bias, and then we'll start wrapping up. We have another couple minutes. This quote by Devansh, Indian gentleman, GPT is white, American, neurotypical, and affluent mostly. Think about it. 2 kinds of biases I'll talk about, model bias and data. Model is the programmers. And programmers have a structured methodology, a way of thought. But the data it's getting, where's it getting it? From the web. I have a German colleague. What does she do? She's a consultant. She goes in and she gets a German prompt. She used to prompt in German, get an answer in German. What does she do now? She gets the German prompt, she translates to English, gets the English response, translates it back to German. Much more effective. And why is that? Because most of the stuff has been programmed in English and it has knowledge. You don't think about political bias, you might appreciate that OpenGPT-4 is left and libertarian, and Llama from Meta, from Facebook, is right and authoritarian. There's a bunch of risk. I'm going to jump through these, but I want to point out right now, this is not a Google on steroids. When you started using Google, you say, "Oh, I got some questions." You ask a question, it gives you a whole bunch of resources. This is a dialogue. And most people start out using AI in the prompting saying, oh, let me ask a question. I'll give you a power tip right now in prompt engineering. Have it AI ask you questions. By the way, here's my question, but ask me 5 questions that are going to help you answer my query, answer my questions. And it will ask you those questions. And when you answer those, you'll be ahead of the game. Again, prompt engineer, I love the quote. You can tell whether a man is clever by his answers, whether a man is wise by his questions. Naguib Mahfouz from the 70s, a little sexist, but he was a Nobel laureate, bright guy. But I'm going to make one more quote at the bottom. Gandhi, the power to question is the basis of all human progress. And the point I made earlier, I'm saying, you know what? Rather have a chat GPT experience and understanding than a college education. I think you need both. So the ability to question, to think critically, to think creatively is powerful. Got some method. I designed 2 methodologies of prompting, which we won't go into here. But the cure, do it. Thank you, Nike. Just do it. Use the tools. Practice daily. Promote ethical awareness. This ideas of here that, you know what, it can go in certain directions, and be aware of hallucinations, effective prompt engineering, and in your organizations and to yourself and in your families even. Encourage its use. It's the only way you're going to get good at it. 10, 15 minutes a day. Practice, practice, practice. When's the best time to integrate it? The best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is now. I'm going to say the best time to integrate AI into your organization was yesterday. Best time is now. Do it. I'm going to say thank you to you, the attendees, as well as to Higher Level for having us. Some background on Lauren, some background on me. Again, the career capsule, I'd welcome your participation on the career capsule on LinkedIn. And if you want to really take another look at the QR code, or you want to gain access to a whole bunch of resources that are here, doors open. And I'll give you some examples: tools, newsletters, articles, HR use cases, resume prompting, HR prompting, career prompting, job research AI tools, some interesting future work. So some interesting stuff. I'm going to go ahead and open the floor to questions, comments, your insights, your ideas, and how can we help you best. And since I don't have access to Q&A and you do, any questions coming through?
Yeah, I have one. It's not really a question, just more of a statement that they think this is kind of scary. People won't have to think for themselves anymore, and hoping it teaches people such as politicians teamwork and kindness.
Oh, I love that dream. There is a term out there called AI obesity. And I was just reading an article yesterday talking about, are we going to get lazy? And frankly, some of us will. But that's why we need to practice using it and figuring out, okay, what is it good at? What am I good at? And what can I do to complement? If it does everything for us, we're going to go out drinking and drugs. Maybe. I hope not. But we need our own challenges. We have our own creativity, our own exploration. Lauren, some thoughts?
Yeah, I think that it's nothing to be afraid of.
I agree.
I think that the more you kind of look at like the smallest candle that is in existence, all the darkness can't put out the light from that candle. And when you look at AI, you look at, how can I use this tool to understand whether it's some politician going off the rails or whatever it is, how can I use it to understand what's going on? And so I think that it's important that it's here, it's not going away, it's kind of the next evolution of technology. And I need to say, you know what, how can I become really good at using it? And, Scott talked about practicing, using it, asking it questions. What do I need to know? What should I learn? Based upon this question, what should I have asked? Those are the things that, I'm big on with prompting. You have to remember, AI is kind of like a little kid, and it learns. That's why they call it a large language model, AI and machine learning, AI learns you, and it learns what you might be interested in knowing. And so it won't learn, just like, you have to pay attention to a child, you have to pay attention to your AI and be willing to learn. And as you learn, those fears and concerns will go away because it will become an asset, a powerful tool, not just one of those rakes that you leave in your garage.
I did have a request to show the QR code again, so I did. That should be back on screen. You should have access to that now. Summer, thank you very much. Appreciate your assistance as well, making a difference and making this work. Any other questions you have? I'm going to give a plug for prompt engineering. Frankly, down the road, prompt engineering will be obsolete. You're going to be using it in Salesforce. You're going to be using it in any type of Zoho, any type of tool, workplace, any type of SAP, which is actually being replaced these days. QuickBooks, Microsoft Office Copilot. It's going to be integrated into your applications. But right now, the power is in prompting, and prompting really is an art. And being able to prompt is the art of getting the tools, the large language models, the LLMs, to do what you want it to and to help you most. That's how you're going to 10x your performance, is through these large language models right now. Every day, there's 5 new applications going into business and 2 of them going out of business. So you say, well, which one do I hop onto? Well, all the majors are doing things that are amazing. Microsoft has a whole bunch of avenues. Google has a whole bunch of avenues. OpenAI is constantly, every day, every week, adding new tools, project management, calendars, capabilities. And there you have something called GPTs. You can create your own based on your PDFs, your books, your employee manual. And when somebody's going into a chat saying, well, tell me about the 401k benefits, it'll go on your employee manual and answer it with your custom GPT, which are actually pretty easy to build. If anybody has any questions after the fact, LinkedIn is probably the best way to catch up with me, because I've been, like I said, I wrote a book on LinkedIn, and I've been a fan. 5% of my grade for over 10 years, and all my classes had been LinkedIn a requirement. So very powerful, outstanding tool. Anything else on your mind that you would like answers to, or that have concerns about? Because the brilliant experts in the field, and I'm not going to claim to be one of those, but the high-end folks are saying 10% chance that the human race will be gone due to AI. 90% chance it's going to enhance life as we know it. I like the 90%. The 10% does scare me too. Is this Skyrim, is Terminator coming to a government near you or to a state near you? I don't think so. Is it potential? Is it a possibility? Well, anything's possible. Possibly we'll be on Mars in 10 years. But you get the idea. A lot of things can and do happen. But you want to be a part of the solution, not the problem. And if you can understand the technology, if you can use the technology, you start applying it, there's always going to be bad actors. With CRISPR, and people can do things in their garage right now that would scare me. But the overall, it's kind of a chicken and egg and a battle and a continuous process to keep up with the technology. Frankly, I challenge our Congress, which has a median age of 68 or 73 or some crazy. Not that I'm not here to give you and say, okay, let's do some age discrimination here. I am saying, to understand the technology, you got to practice using it. And I don't know how many of those have actually practiced it, experienced it, used it, other than Elon, who with his company XAI has, for better or for worse. So that's the thought process, is just do it.
All right, well, lots of great information today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Coming up with Higher Level, we have our high-powered webinar on timekeeping coming up in April. That is the 22nd at 11 o'clock, and I invite you to join me at that time. And then our High Notes webinars continue next month as well, the 30th, and we will be joined by Anders CPA firm talking about cybersecurity prevention. So More topics that you're going to want to join in on. This was recorded today, so that recording will be sent out, as well as information to submit for your SHRM credits. Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Summer. Thank you, Higher Level. Thank you all.
Thank you.